The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history. Spoken as if Orwell were addressing a global audience in today's world. Let me begin plainly. When you sever a people from their past, you don't need to imprison them. They are already shackled. The memory of who we are, what we've suffered, fought for, endured and overcome, is not just a narrative. It is the scaffold of freedom itself. I have long warned, both in fiction and essay, that tyranny doesn't begin with boots and batons. It begins with the erasure of memory, the page rewritten, the past recoded, the truth blurred until it resembles myth, and the myth hardened until it becomes law. In 1984, I gave you the Ministry of Truth, a name designed not just to be ironic, but prophetic. In that grey edifice, records were altered, documents vanished, and history bent to the will of power. Why? Because a citizen who remembers yesterday clearly is dangerous to the lies of today. You ask, but Mr. Orwell, is that not just fiction? No, it is prophecy by pattern. In my time, I saw empires rewrite history to justify occupation. I watched totalitarian regimes twist education into indoctrination. And I observed democratic nations sanitize their pasts to maintain illusions of righteousness. It was true then. It is truer now. In your century, the machinery is subtler, but vastly more potent. Algorithms now determine which histories you see. State-approved curriculums decide which atrocities to omit. Statues are either torn down or revered not for truth, but for narrative control. Deepfakes are the new memory holes. Ask yourself, whose history are you reading? Who benefits from its telling? Today's disinformation campaigns don't just aim to obscure facts, they aim to replace context with confusion, to flood you not with one lie, but 1,000 half-truths. This is not ignorance, it is engineered amnesia. Consider the consequences. If a people no longer understand the roots of their struggle, they cannot organize. If they forget the names of their martyrs, they will not recognize new tyrants. If their identity is flattened, colonized, or digitally overwritten, they become clay for the molding hands of demagogues. What applied to fascist regimes in the 20th century now applies to media empires, data barons, and ideological machines masquerading as educational institutions. They are not merely fighting for your present consent, they are erasing your past to secure your future compliance. So what is to be done? First, treat history not as settled, but sacred. Not sacred in the sense of worship, but in the sense of vigilance. Re-examine it often, question it. Not to undermine its core truths, but to guard against its misuse. Second, protect the memory of the marginalized. It is not enough to remember the victors. You must also remember the silenced, the colonized, the enslaved, the rebel who was labeled a traitor, the whistleblower who died in disgrace but lived in truth. Third, teach your children to distrust ahistorical certainty. A government, a party, a movement that fears history fears accountability. Fourth, create your own archives. Do not leave memory solely in the hands of states or corporations. Journal, record, film, preserve. If the truth is inconvenient to power, then inconvenience them with the evidence. Fifth, beware of nostalgia. Tyrants love nostalgia. They will sell you a past that never existed to justify a future you should never accept. Understand, the obliteration of history is not about books. It is about identity. It is not just the destruction of facts, it is the destruction of the citizen. Because when history disappears, so too does resistance. And finally, I offer this to you not as a cynic, but as someone who believed deeply in the dignity of the informed individual. You may not control the future, but you can anchor it in a truthful past. Let them call you radical for remembering what they wish you'd forget. Let them call you dangerous for refusing to forget. Because in the end, the greatest rebellion is to remember. Thank you. George Orwell, channeled for the digital age.